dive into the pages of history where the world was amidst the chaos of World War II. In the years leading up to the Second World War, the political landscape was a tumultuous one. Nazi Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, was on the rise. Hitler's aggressive foreign policies and expansionist ideology led to the invasion of Poland in 1939, sparking the beginning of World War II. Meanwhile, across the globe in the East, Japan, Italy, and Germany had signed the Tripartite Pact, effectively forming the Axis powers. This alliance further escalated the tensions, setting the stage for a conflict of an unprecedented scale. While the countries were gearing up for war, a new kind of warfare was being conceived on the British Isles. In 1940, in response to Germany's swift and devastating blitzkrieg tactics, the British Commandos were formed. This elite force was the brainchild of Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister. He envisioned a specialized force capable of carrying out raids against German-occupied Europe. These were not traditional soldiers, but rather a new breed of warrior, trained to fight behind enemy lines, disrupt the enemy's operations, gather intelligence, and sow chaos wherever they went. Now let's delve into the concept of commando missions. The term commando was derived from the Afrikaans word commando, used to describe mobile infantry units. These missions were a form of guerrilla warfare designed to hit the enemy where they least expected, causing maximum disruption with minimum resources. The commandos were trained in a variety of skills, including sabotage, demolition, and close quarters combat. They were also proficient in using a variety of weapons and equipment, and were taught to adapt to any situation, making them a formidable force on the battlefield. As the world braced for a global conflict, the stage was set for the first commando mission of World War II. A date of the 24th of June was set. Key personnel like Admiral Roger Keyes, Lieutenant Colonel Dudley Clark, and Captain Robert Ryder were at the helm. Each man brought with him a wealth of military experience and a shared determination to strike a decisive blow against the enemy. The mission objectives were specific. The commandos were to infiltrate the Pas-de-Calais department, concentrating on the towns of Neuchâtel-Hardelot, Stella-Plage, Burke, and Le Touquet on the French coast. All were deemed to be heavily guarded with a high number of enemy soldiers. Their task was to gather intelligence, cause disruption, and, if possible, capture enemy personnel for interrogation. A mission of high stakes for men with little experience of the commando role. The 1st Battalion assigned the commando role was the 11 Independent Company, who were based in Scotland, commanded by Major Ronnie Todd. On relocation to Southampton on England's south coast, they started to prepare by performing exercises in and around the River Hamble, using local infantry as enemy. However, severe issues were found with the boats proposed for the Channel crossing. They were unpractical and unusable. Approaching the Royal Air Force, the unit managed to secure 4 air-sea rescue boats that, with minimal modifications, could be utilized for the mission. The commandos were already learning to be resourceful. So, after an arduous but limited training schedule in the short amount of time available, on the night of the 24th of June, 115 commandos set out into the English Channel. The sea conditions were not favorable, the night dark and with unknown territory to face. The commando spirit settled in, leaving their determination unwavering. The Channel crossing was fraught, the RAF were not aware of the mission, and a patrol came worryingly close to the boats. Perhaps the pilots recognized their own rescue craft and let the commandos be. However, the compasses on board the boats were unreliable and lacked any other navigation equipment. At 0200 hours, the commandos landed at their specific locations. Each group, of which there were 4, were to spend no longer than 80 minutes ashore. The Merlimont Plage Hotel at Touquet was the first group's objective. The hotel was apparently being used as a German troop barrack, or so the intelligence had suggested. On arrival, the group discovered it was empty, with boarded-up doors and windows. With a lack of any other target, they returned to the beach rendezvous, only to discover their boat had put back out to sea. During the wait, 2 German sentries stumbled on the group and were professionally dealt with, using bayonets. As another German patrol approached from a distant sand dune, the group was forced to ditch their weapons so as not to drown, and swim out to the boat. Landing at Hardelot, the second group penetrated several hundred yards inland. But with the time allocated for the mission, The commander of the group made the decision to return to the boat without coming into contact with any enemy. The men at Burke had thought that they were going to be heading into action at last, but the seaplane they found at anchorage was heavily defended and realistically undermanned and outgunned. The commandos took the decision to walk away and take the fight to the enemy Anther Day. Todd, commanding the final group at Stella Plage, made contact with a German patrol. A short firefight ensued, and in the exchange one of his men was slightly wounded. The whole group made it back to the boat. All 115 commandos made a successful return back to the English coast. The following statement was issued by the War Office on the return of the first commando mission. Naval and military raiders, in cooperation with the RAF, carried out successful reconnaissances of the enemy coastline. Landings were effected at a number of points and contacts made with German troops. Casualties were inflicted on the enemy, but no British casualties occurred, and much useful information was obtained. The success of the mission had a mixed result with British military commanders. No intelligence was gathered, only 2 German soldiers were killed, and little to no disruption was caused to the enemy. However, British commandos had successfully managed to outwit the Germans, sneak ashore into German-held territory, and leave without one single serious casualty or man left behind. The first commando mission had done enough. Adolf Hitler was furious, referring to them later as terrorist and sabotage troops who acted outside of the Geneva Convention. German propaganda called them murderous thugs and cutthroats. So much was Hitler's fear of commando raids, he would later announce the commando kill order, such that commandos on German-held territory were to be shot on sight. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to raise the awareness of these amazing raids carried out by men of valor.